Most people remain terribly unaware of the dangerous events that are coming for us. We are living at a time when massive disasters are happening all around us, but the vast majority of our society isn't paying attention to what's going on. Our world is being shaken by economic and financial troubles, widespread social disorder, pestilence, and many other natural catastrophes. But many of us are still thinking that life will eventually get back to normal. Sadly, that isn't going to happen. As we approach 2022, global events will continue to accelerate, and most of our population is going to be caught by surprise by what is coming, because they just don't want to believe that things will ever get so chaotic. But with each passing day, more disasters emerge around the world. For instance, on Monday, the California coast was hit by a magnitude 6.2 earthquake that brought significant shaking and serious damages to the area. The tremor was recorded in the afternoon and was spotted off the coast, about 210 miles northwest of San Francisco, just outside a small town called Petrolia. The earthquake was felt across approximately 25,000 homes in the area, with people reporting strong or very strong shaking, according to the U.S. Geological Survey. But residents as far away as Sacramento and the San Francisco Bay Area also reported feeling trembling. Fortunately, no one was injured and no fatalities were recorded, but severe damages were done. We are seeing varying damages, most occurring in the Eel River Valley and South County areas. We have received some reports of structural damages to buildings, broken glass and items thrown from shelves at local businesses. Damage assessments are still underway, said Samantha Carges, public information specialist of the Humboldt County Sheriff's Office. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, initial economic losses totaled more than $10 million, but officials are still evaluating the true scope of the damages. One local grocery store owner said that the quake was very scary. Ranjit Singh, owner of the Valley Grocery in Ferndale, revealed that his store suffered some significant losses as hundreds of glass bottles were shattered and destroyed many other items. He said he will have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to repair and restock the store. Seismic activity continues to increase all over the planet. That's particularly worrying because along the Ring of Fire, where 75% of the Earth's active volcanoes are located, new tremors are reported on a daily basis. The region accounts for more than 80% of all global earthquakes, and the fact that it is becoming active right now means that we're still basically sitting on a ticking time bomb. Meanwhile, in Newport, Oregon, an area known as Blanco Fracture Zone has produced more than 60 earthquakes in only 36 hours. Scientists say that a high-magnitude quake in the zone could potentially send a giant tsunami slamming into the west coast. Fortunately, quakes have been mild so far. On top of that, late last week, extreme winds and brutal tornadoes erupted right in the middle of the nation. Last Wednesday, a widespread windstorm, severe weather outbreak, and unusual heat from the Rockies and Plains into the upper Midwest were recorded. The event was so unusual for December that even weather historians were absolutely shocked, according to the Weather Channel. I can say with some confidence that this event, the heat and tornadoes, is among the most, if not the most, anomalous weather events ever on record for the upper Midwest. Weather historian Christopher Burt said, "The destruction that was caused by the tornadoes was truly alarming, and the power of the windstorms left the locals completely horrified." In fact, reports say that the U.S. experienced the highest number of hurricane-force gusts in a single 24-hour period ever recorded. Needless to say, such high wind speeds can fuel wildfires to spin out of control, and that's what happened in the state of Kansas, where hundreds of thousands of acres were burned in less than 3 days. On Thursday, the Forest Service exposed that nearly 400,000 acres had burned and hundreds of homes have been destroyed. It looked like a massive ball of rolling fire and smoke, described Keith Harberer, emergency manager for Russell and Ellsworth counties. Harborer, who used to work as a firefighter for more than 20 years, said that he had never seen fire move that fast. The smoke was so bad ahead of the fire that you could not see the flames right away until you got up closer, and then they went past you so fast, he added. While prairie fires usually form a line and move in the same direction, U.S. Senator Jerry Moran said at a news conference in Hays, the Four Counties fire was made up of several separate blazes, sparked by falling power lines because of the high winds. Darren Myers, fire department chief in Ellis County, revealed that some of his firefighters saved a resident from her burning home just before the flames became uncontrolled. They said that the blaze has erased the house. Usually it takes 30 minutes to an hour to burn a house down, Myers explains. It was just like within a minute, the fire was past the house and the house was gone. The catastrophe also led many farmers to lose everything. In some cases, the flames moved so fast that it was impossible to move all the animals out of the way. That's what happened to Deb Maupin's property, whose home was completely ruined and her crops were wiped out. Her family is one of more than a dozen families who lost their homes to extensive wildfires that ripped through communities northeast of Hays last week. Maupin said that she saw acres upon acres of pasture and cropland burn. She disclosed that they lost 100 cattle, and it will take years to recover from the damages her family suffered. Rebuilding the herd will take time to ensure quality and avoid bringing diseases into the herd. The big problem, though, is that the fire burned off the winter pasture, she said. None of this is normal. The United States is being plagued by an extraordinary amount of catastrophes that cost us billions of dollars each year. Unfortunately, the whole world has been hit by a series of tragedies over the past few years, and that has resulted in the destruction of millions of acres of agricultural land. Now, we're once again at the brink of global food crisis. Since last year, global hunger faced an unprecedented spike and started affecting an additional 768 million people worldwide. According to the UN, the number of people living with food insecurity, or those forced to compromise on food quantity or quality, skyrocketed by 318 million to 2.38 billion, and experts are warning that while drought, geopolitical conflicts, and inflation intensifies, a global food crisis seems to be fast approaching. At this point, global food supplies are getting increasingly tighter, and the great solution global leaders are coming up with is for people to start eating insects. Although that's a common eating habit in some countries, the timing suggests that governments around the world are getting desperate, and desperate times lead to desperate measures, right? In Europe, officials just allowed house crickets, yellow mealworms, and grasshoppers to be sold as food at supermarkets. You might be able to trade down on some things. Instead of the high-priced turkeys or steaks, you might consider something less expensive on that side of the dinner table, said Kurt Covington, Senior Director of Institutional Credit at Ag America Lending, in an interview with Bloomberg. But there's no escaping it. Everything on the holiday table is just going to be more expensive, Covington continued. The main question now is, how many households will be able to afford traditional food, and how many will have to resort to substitutes to save money? Right now, millions of Americans are having trouble affording essential goods as inflation soars higher. An almost 7% surge in consumer prices is making it more difficult for people to make ends meet because wages haven't kept pace with inflation. The same is happening all over the globe. In Europe, the bugs will be sold in frozen, dried, and powdered forms and will be packed with nutrients and low cost, according to Bloomberg. In essence, those who can no longer afford meat might resort to bugs and worms to feed their families. As if all these adversities weren't disturbing enough, scientists just discovered a gigantic comet that will be traveling through our solar system next year. The Mega Comet, as some have called it. It is estimated to be between 60 and 230 miles wide, which can potentially be the largest comet ever discovered, according to Earth Sky. As a comparison, Halley's Comet is roughly 3.5 miles wide. Long Island is 118 miles long, and part of the Florida Peninsula is about 160 miles across. The asteroid that is thought to have been a factor in the extinction of the dinosaurs was estimated to be about 7 miles wide, AccuWeather says. Therefore, if a space rock of this size was on a collision course with Earth and slammed into the land, there would be impacts on a global scale and shifts in the climate. And if the comet missed land and splashed down in the ocean instead, it could generate a huge tsunami. Scientists are trying to assure us that nothing so extreme will happen. However, they don't really know how this comet will behave. These are extremely unusual times, and with each passing day, more strange things happen all over the world. Yet, most of the population wants to believe that things are improving and we're heading to a state of normality. Of course, it would be great if it was true, but it isn't. We must wake up from this collective numbness because the changes that we are facing right now will be proven permanent. And the pace of change is only going to intensify during the months and years to come. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, we would like to recommend 7-Year Apocalypse, the latest book of the economic and financial analyst Michael Snyder. Don't forget to turn notifications on to keep tuned to our next videos.